IVM.
Hey guys, IVM podcast is turning 7. Can you believe it? On a personal note, it's been a pretty awesome journey for me with these wonderful folks, and I can't wait to see what the next 7 years bring.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 53 of the Fighting G.O.A.T. This is our anniversary episode where we finish 1 year. We launched on 3rd of March 2021. We are still here rocking, and a lot more coming up only on this wonderful anniversary episode where we speak about Islam Makhachev and the last minute replacement Bobby Green, what happened to Cain Velasquez, and a lot more after this short commercial break.
Hello. It's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Storytellers and Storytellers, Vineet talks to Chavi and Mohit, the couple behind Shitty Ideas Trending, about their creator journey. On Big Talks About Tiny Human, Meghna and Devi Shobha share strategies on how to deal with difficult behaviors of strong-willed children. On Pulya Basi, Pranay and Saurabh discuss why Indian students go abroad in large numbers for an MBBS degree. On Probation Se Promotion Tak, Abhinav tells us the benefits of self-marketing through writing for public forums. And on the Life Manifesto, Zarina discusses red flags, how we can identify them, and how we can deal with them. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. It really helps us. Don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms that you're listening to. And also remember, you can check us out on YouTube at www.ivmpodcast.com/YouTube. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, SBI Life Insurance, Bank of Baroda, and HDFC Life Insurance. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the anniversary episode of The Fighting G.O.A.T, where your host and host, Arjun, aka Mystic Chips, and Somesh, the Superhuman Kamra, rock and roll things in the combat world, only on The Fighting G.O.A.T. Mystic Chips,
Yes,
namaste, kaise ho aap?
Namaste. Everything's good, man. A lot of fighting, sadly, going around in the world as well.
Absolutely.
No matter what side, we're never ever going to talk politics on the show. But no matter what side, I always condemn war. War is not the answer to everything. It destabilizes the economy. It makes lives shitty. Innocent people die, regardless of no matter what your aim and goal is.
Except if it's raw is war.
Only raw is war, which is WWE. Yeah. That is different.
Yes.
वो अलग kind of war hai. वो अलग
Correct.
war hai.
You know, that's tables, ladders, and chairs.
That's wo war hai, war. No, but just before we start out, a big shout out, hearts and minds go out to all the victims in Ukraine and any war. And no war is ever condemned. No war is ever condoned,
Yeah.
by anyone.
You know, we'll just take that part out and just put it as a promo.
No war is ever condoned. We should
Condemned.
Condemned, ना? अरे गलती हो जाता है यार. Anniversary issue अभी सुबह इतना record करवाओगे तो फिर क्या होगा?
I know you have had a crazy party night for this anniversary, huh?
Obviously, dude. I was waiting for it. It's been a year, almost a year now. Actually, it is a year, technically. What is it? 2nd March, right? We recorded?
3rd March. 3rd March was the first release of the episode, and we are right now sitting on 4th March. So it's exactly...
No, we are sitting on 2nd March, bro.
Well, but the episode comes out on 4th, no?
अरे हाँ, मैं क्या बोलेगा अभी यार? I really need to restart these things. Yeah. I'm out of sorts. My maid didn't come today, so I know I'm sounding like a spoiled brat. So मैंने coffee नहीं खरीद के रखा. So
you are made in India, yeah.
I know, I'm fully made in India. That's made in India with all our bad habits. जहाँ हाथ पैर चलते नहीं without the buy, you know.
Absolutely.
So coffee नहीं आया, so I'm a little slow today, but I'm starting to catch up, and let's catch you guys up with what's been happening in the world of mixed martial arts. The last week's card was a banger, albeit the main event was a little bittersweet because of last minute replacements, which brings me to our topic, which we're going to talk about today later. So I won't get into too much, is last minute replacement fighting. You know, it's not just fighters who step in at the last minute, but it's also the ramifications of stepping in at the last minute. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. And it can be quite a dangerous, coin to flip. But we've seen this happen many, many times, and it will continue to happen many, many times. As we also have recently found out that next week, UFC 272's fight with Rafael Dos Anjos versus Fiziev, which was called off because Fiziev getting COVID, has now been replaced by Renato Moicano from Brazil, and who is going to be coming in and dropping 20 pounds on a 5-day notice. Man, that's
Yes,
something. Yeah.
that is really something. There are some people who just step up. But speaking of step ups, which we are going to speak later, what is really happening with Cain Velasquez?
Cain Velasquez.
Yes.
Cain. You can call him whatever you want, man.
Yeah, it's a proper noun.
Cain Velasquez is, if for guys who don't know who Cain Velasquez is, he is one of the greatest UFC heavyweights to ever come out in this sport. He had one of the most stellar records. He beat the who's who in that division before, it's become what it is today. I still believe, to a certain extent that division was a little deeper back in those days.
Absolutely, yes. When you had Alistair Overeem, you had Brock Lesnar, you had Junior Dos Santos, you had Mark Hunt, you had Nogueira, Randy
Ben
Couture,
Rothwell, Frank Mir,
you had the who's who.
Josh Barnett.
Oh my God. We have the strikers, the grapplers, the heavy hitters, and the master jiu-jitsu guys like the Nogueiras.
Dude, even Roy Nelson, who was one of the biggest, toughest SOBs.
Oh my God.
I mean, people talk about Tai Tuivasa having a chin. Oh man, Roy Nelson, you could hit him with a car and nothing would happen.
Absolutely.
And it's, and Cain Velasquez is such a decorated champion. And he, because of injuries, he left the sport. And it's a grueling sport, man. Injuries to get the best of you. And in the way Cain Velasquez trains, it's always 150%. He doesn't know how to take his, his foot off the pedal. So Cain Velasquez was apparently, and he's also after his UFC stint, his MMA stint, he has now become a WWE superstar. And he fights in, with the promotion there.
But sadly, he got released last year from WWE.
Oh, yes. Yeah, yes.
Because of the budget cuts and all of that, before he really made an impact there, he was kind of released, sadly.
Right. Maybe, it's like a transitional thing. Like, okay, you hang back Cain, get more prepared, and they'll reintroduce. WWE has a habit of reintroducing characters after, with a different persona.
Like how The Undertaker kind of died and came back like some 6 million times.
Correct. He came back as the American badass. And then eventually, to wrap up his career, he came back as the dead man.
Well, but let's not rule him out yet.
Let's not. He may have retired, but he can come back anytime he wants, man. But anyway, the bad news is that Cain Velasquez was involved in a shooting of some sort.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, the details, don't ask us for the details. We're not TMZ. We're not Ariel Helwani. We don't report. But my point is that we're just talking about what could have happened, man. I mean, he was involved in a shooting with somebody else. Firstly, kudos to badass Cain, because he didn't get hurt in that altercation, because there were obviously guns were firing both sides.
Right.
And he didn't get hit in the thing, but he's injured someone and he's now been put in prison without bail.
And there are multiple reports flying. There are multiple reports flying where someone is saying that he shot someone who kind of, touched his cousin inappropriately, or he shot.
Then that person deserves to get shot.
Yeah, but there's always an aspect of law. You can always go and complain and do it legally. Of course, fighters are a little hot-headed, and if this news would have reached him, America is a land of guns. Everybody has a gun out there, and it becomes a little dangerous. But having a gun is not as dangerous as using a gun. You can have a gun and still not use it because it doesn't fire by itself. But I guess, there are multiple reports flying. Let us wait for the official report. But whatever happened was very sad. What we know is that Cain Velasquez was involved in a shooting in San Jose, and he's behind bars without bail. So we'll see how that really plays out.
That is really sad. That's really sad. But in happier news, in the last Bellator card, we saw the return of Gegard Musashi. Well, the continued dominance of Gegard Musashi as he took on Austin Vanderford, who is Paige Van Zandt's husband.
Yes.
And Paige Van Zandt is a former UFC flyweight contender.
Yes.
And she left the UFC to go fight in bare knuckle fighting championships.
Yes.
And Austin Vanderford is her husband, who is fighting in Bellator. But that's the thing, man. Man, you see, Gegard Musashi made such short work of him. Like, it was not even on the same level. And okay, somewhere we knew, Austin Vanderford and Gegard Musashi are not on the same level. They're not.
Well, but those elbows to finish it off, did you see those?
Man.
Oh my God. In fact, quite funnily, in the post-fight conference, Gegard Musashi mentioned that he would make quick work of Israel Adesanya if they ever had to fight. And I was like, wow, dude, this guy is talking about his previous organization. He's sending out a message. And, there was a time in Strikeforce and UFC, where there was always this aspect of Chris Cyborg taking on the champion of UFC in the featherweight division. And when that finally played out, we saw what Amanda Nunes did to Chris Cyborg. But
True.
Maybe in the future, like an inter-promotion battle.
Well, knowing Mr. Dana White, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, because that's also a part of our talked matchups, the failed matchups, man.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm not going to broach that topic right now. But I'll just say one thing, that Gegard Musashi is still, a lot of fighters who've been fighting for so many years, they tend to see their skills diminish.
Right.
They tend to see them slowing down over time. But no, man, Gegard Musashi still looks world class. His striking, his range, his balance, his distance, his grappling, everything. The only time, he's got that same, that look. He's got ice running through his veins. Never panics.
Right.
Always in the right position. And I think he actually might give. I would love to see a Khamzat Chimaev versus a Musashi.
Oh my God. That would have been insane. Because both are very, like one is Armenian, one is, from Sweden. But he's got this Dagestani blood in him.
Yeah.
Both are cold. Both are hard hitters. Both are strong. Both are calm.
Yeah.
That would be such a beautiful matchup. That would be such a beautiful
incredible.
matchup.
I mean, just to see how Musashi and Musashi is no slouch off his back, huh?
Dude, he is a killer.
Very good off his back. I mean, King Mo Muhammad, when he was the wrestler in Bellator, he kept taking Musashi down, but he couldn't do anything from that position.
He couldn't do anything from there.
And eventually, Musashi got his moment and knocked him out.
Musashi, I remember Musashi used to fight for this promotion called M1 Global.
Oh, yeah.
And he was a savage back then, and he was only 21, 22. It's huge. He was huge. I've actually met him in person, and he's huge. I don't even know how he comes in that middleweight division. He's
got a very lean frame, though. He may be big, but he's lean.
And these guys don't cut that much weight. They're kind of almost walking around in their weight, and that's why they're lasting for this long in the sport.
Correct. That's a great point. It's actually a very good point, because I've noticed a lot of guys, if you look throughout history, a lot of guys who've not cut a lot of weight have had the longer careers.
Well, we can speak of GSP. We can speak of Frankie Edgar. We can speak of Gegard Musashi.
BJ Penn. He looks so young. He barely cut weight.
So these guys don't cut that much weight.
Anderson Silva used to cut from maybe 200, 201 to 185.
Yeah, which is not insane.
It's not Anthony Johnson insane.
Right. Right.
Anthony Johnson was from 240 to 170.
Correct.
And a lot of guys, like, even if you look at the walking around weights, somebody sent me a statistic the other day of seeing all the champions, all the contenders right now in the welterweight division. Nobody is under 190.
Yes.
Nobody. And they're fighting at 170. Nobody is under 190. 195. Kumar Usman could easily be walking around 200.
Easily. But, that's when I like the rules of one championship, where one championship says you cannot cut more than 8% of your body weight, and they've got hydration checks so they can see as to how much you have dehydrated. If you have dehydrated beyond a certain point, your fight is off.
That's a very good thing. In fact, they should even start. They should honestly start same day weigh-ins, or 1 day prior, not even 1 day, same day weigh-ins, so that you don't have the advantage to balloon up.
Same day weigh-ins is something which a lot of pundits, a lot of medical professionals are rooting for. But same day weigh-ins also changes the mindset, and you lose one event, which is the ceremonial weigh-ins. So from the promotional perspective, the weigh-ins normally happen on Friday morning.
Subah jaldi, in the 7 in the morning, you do the weigh-ins that are the regular weigh-ins, and ceremonial weigh-ins can happen like a couple of hours before the fight.
Yeah, but then, it's all about mindset. It's all about preparation. It's about, the fighter kind of warming up and getting into his rhythm. And hence, on fight day, normally the promotions do not give them too much of work to do, because they need to prepare for the fight.
They need to prepare mentally, Maybe, so maybe not same day weigh-ins, but maybe like, a cap. You can't cut more than 7-8 pounds.
Absolutely.
That's it. If I get 170, you can cut from 178 to 170, but you cannot weigh more than 178.
Yeah, but a percentage is always better, because 7 or 8 pounds for a heavyweight and 7-8 pounds for a featherweight would be very, very different. when it comes to percentages. Hence, one championship says flat 8%. You cannot cut more than 8% of your body weight. So if you're
That's going to be interesting.
If you're 200 pounds, then maximum you can cut is about 16 pounds max.
Yeah. But still, that's still a lot. 16 pounds is a lot at the end of the day.
I mean, for a 100 kg person, I think 8 kgs is not that bad. So, like a light heavyweight person, instead of 92 kgs, he can weigh about 100 kgs.
Yeah.
But, it's as simple as that.
Okay, I mean, but still, see, it's still a function of it making advantage. So coming back to that entire thing, but still correct. So for a 100 kg person, I understand that. But for somebody who weighs 80 kg, who fights at a division which is 82 kilograms, which is 170 pounds.
Yeah, for him 8% would be different.
For him 8% would be different. But what these guys are 20, 22 pounds over.
Oh yes, that's lethal. That is lethal.
It's just, look at Islam Makhachev. Okay, he's fighting at 155. I promise you, he's walking at 190.
Easy. In fact, Khabib is about 205 to 210.
No, but now he's retired completely. He also put on some weight. He's now looking,
but he normally walks around at about 200, 205 pounds and he comes to 155. He almost cuts 45 to 50 pounds.
That's just mad. And that's why
it's way too much.
I think part of why he retired was he's like getting to the weight is the problem.
Exactly.
A lot of fighters, unless you completely drastically change your strength and conditioning regimen. And the thing is, he doesn't want to compromise on the strength. So he'll rather suffer for the weight cut and maintain his strength the next day.
Well, I personally believe if somebody really wants to compete and wants to test themselves, I think he should have gone up to 170 is what I feel. But I'm not the one cornering him or anything of that sort.
Ideally, yeah. I think even Islam Makhachev can eat the fact that he was asking for the fight at 170 against RDA, which is unfair to Rafael Dos Anjos because he's already cut. He's already cutting down to 155.
Correct. And 4 days prior, it's not possible.
You cannot tell somebody to just go up 5-6 pounds in weight, come meet me at 170.
But do you know that happened with us in UFC Shanghai Fight Night? Where
with Bharat.
Yeah, where we were supposed to fight at bantamweight and 6 days prior, they told us, no, the fight is off. It needs to be at featherweight. So whilst Bharat was on his weight cut, we had to seize that, change his plan completely and get him up to 145. And that took a toll on him mentally. And he was like, wow, this is crazy,
Yeah, it's, also mentally and physically because your body is already in the motion of cutting weight.
Exactly.
You can't just turn it around and,
Exactly. It's like, you're putting your car into the first gear, second gear, and suddenly it's going in reverse. Your car would react in a certain way. The engine would seize.
Exactly.
But,
it'll stall a few times. You'll have a lot of problems.
Absolutely.
So that's the other side of, these guys trying to, it's also, I also somewhere believe it's strategy. Because
it is.
You want to fight at a weight that you are comfortable at. And right now, somebody might be saying, okay, I'm 173, 174.
Yeah.
I don't want to cut more than 2-3 pounds.
But it's so interesting why. It's so interesting because the last event that happened, UFC fight and Makhachev versus Green was the last minute replacement for Benny.
He got 10 days notice, right?
He got 10 days notice. Makhachev finished him off in the first round.
Yeah.
Convincingly.
Yeah.
And Makhachev wants to now, kind of fill in and fight RDA for the next event. Correct. But he said, I cannot make 155. Can we do it at 170? I think RDA said, let's do 165.
And he said no. Yeah.
And he said no.
So the thing is, he
such
fought
an
Green,
interesting to and fro.
He fought Green at 160 pounds.
At 160 pounds. That's it. That was a catchweight fight. You're right.
He must have gone up straight. So on fight night, he must be 170, 172.
Maybe even more. And maybe after the fight, he kind of just ate what he wanted and had some Coca-Cola and stuff like that.
He must have had burgers and pizza and all that jazz. And no, so definitely he's got, even to come down to 170, he's mentioning 170 because it's a closer target. He can't get to 165.
He's probably 176, 175.
Correct.
So for him, 5 pounds could be manageable.
Yeah, more than that, no. He's like, no, I'll get drained. Because then it's
Correct.
also the strength ratio, how quickly can he recover from it, all that jazz comes in.
I think they don't want to lose.
No, they can't lose, no. I mean,
Coach
10 and 0
Khabib
and all that.
Coach Khabib cannot lose in the UFC.
Oh, I wish you could see
So-
Somesh's face here. I mean, you are not I can tell you're not a fan.
Well, I mean,
No, I mean, okay, no, let me rephrase
you know-
it. I don't mean not a fan. I just said it's just...
I'm a fan of fighting. I'm not a fan of strategy and,
This
going
is why I
on
love the Purana Zamana. They never cared. They never cared about records.
if I'm telling you, if Nate Diaz would have been in shape, he would have said, let me go at it.
Yeah.
100%. He would have come in. Donald Cerrone would have jumped on. Tony Ferguson would have jumped on. Any one of these guys would have just jumped on.
And Tony versus RDA would have been fun.
It would have been fun. And that is exactly what we need to speak about in the next segment, buddy.
And we will speak about it in the next segment. Oh man, Tony, and there's a history behind that. No, but in summation, though, it's funny. Nate. I'm surprised that Nate. One quick also new piece of information which is going to make all MMA fans happy. Finally, UFC 273. We have Khamzat Chimaev versus Gilbert Burns.
Oh my God, that fight just got announced by Dana White himself, which means it's happening.
This is
UFC
legit.
273.
Hey, what happened to Brazil? But what happened to Brazil?
So the Brazil card is not happening. That card has been moved back to Las Vegas. And I also believe Glover versus Yuri Prohaska is off that card.
So it's gone to where? Which card then?
The 275. It was supposed to be
275.
Yeah, it was supposed to be 274 in
That's
May.
June.
In May in Brazil, but it's not happening. So the main event of that evening is Charles Oliveira taking on Justin Gaethje for the lightweight belt.
Interesting. But moving on, as we rightfully said, we're going to be talking about the failed matchups and the missed weights and the quick replacements. But don't quickly replace us, ladies and gentlemen, because we'll be right back after this quick commercial break. You're listening to episode 53 of the Fighting G.O.A.T, our anniversary issue. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these quick messages.
Have you ever wondered where the business world is headed? How the ways in which we create, market, and sell to consumers will evolve? Or if we'll ever go back to wearing pants while working? For answers to all of this and more, tune into Advertising is Dead with me, Varun Dugirala. Every Tuesday, as I talk to entrepreneurs, leaders, and change makers from across business, media, marketing, and beyond. You can catch all episodes of Advertising is Dead on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcast from.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Fighting G.O.A.T. You are listening to Somesh, the Superhuman Kamra, and Arjun, aka Mystic Chips. This is our anniversary episode, and we are going to be speaking on the missed opportunities, the last minute replacements, some of the weight cut issues, and a lot more of our wonderful sport.
Wonderful. And also, guys, whoever's listening to our anniversary issue, whoever writes in to us, we're going to give away 10 free t-shirts to everybody who writes in, calls in.
Woohoo!
And so be ready. And we're going to announce the winners on next week's episode. So don't miss out on that either. Now, okay, so coming back to continue our conversation that we were talking about, why I'm picking on, I'm not saying I'm picking on, I'm just using him as an example, is Islam Makhachev has now been involved in the last two fights. Dan Hooker and now Bobby Green have been both last minute replacements against a fierce contender. Islam Makhachev, I would say, is now, in the riding the, saying riding the coattails of someone is actually disrespectful. It's not. He's his own person. He's his own champ. And he's a very, very legit contender who's now 10-0 in that division.
Yes.
But now here's where my problem lies now. The last replacement fights, TK, one can say that, they were company men. Absolutely. Dan Hooker and Bobby Green are company men. They took on, they saved the card. And Dana White protects people's careers for doing that.
Absolutely.
You become indispensable. Like Cowboy Cerrone, he's going nowhere. He will finish his career in the UFC only.
Well, he's fighting on the next card.
Joe Lauzon. He's going to be fighting Joe Lozon, and that's
Joe
going to be his
Lozon.
retirement fight, I think.
Yes,
We'll
I
do
think so too.
Don't worry, we will definitely be doing a special for Donald Cerrone
Yeah.
once he's done with his fighting career. So coming back to the point I was trying to make was that you see the last minute replacements. Now the guys who lost, they're fine. They're like, okay, we lost because they've got an excuse to do this. But as a champion moving forward, now I know it's not Islam Makhachev's fault, but would you be saying, oh, my last 2 fights count as big victories? In that sense, like, would those matchups be different had they, obviously the matchups might have been different, might not have been different. Who knows? A win is a win, you can count. But somewhere at the back of my head, I'm like, I think there should be an asterisk put against a win in a short-term opponent,
See, why?
You tell me honestly. Dan Hooker, who's such a tough son of a... Okay.
Yeah.
You give him a 3-month camp. You think he would have gotten submitted in the first minute?
Well, see, the thing is that there are always ifs and buts in the combat sport.
Sure.
And that is exactly why we are talking about the last minute replacements. And I have a few names that are there on my list that I feel have stepped up and done beautifully well. One of them is obviously Khamzat Chimaev. When Fight Island 1 was happening, Khamzat Chimaev stepped in on 10 days notice. Which
have you noticed they all step in only on 10 days notice? Everybody is only 10 days notice.
Well,
no, like 5 days notice, not 3 days notice.
Right. So Khamzat Chimaev's fight versus John Phillips was happening on Fight Island 1 when they had first announced it. The original opponent was Dusko Todorovic.
Oh, yeah. Croatian.
And when Dusko pulled out, Khamzat Chimaev was obviously in the welterweight division, which is 170 pounds. But John Phillips was in the middleweight division, 185 pounds. Khamzat took the fight on 10 days notice and he destroyed John Phillips. Not only that, because UFC Fight Island first 3 events happened in 1 week.
That's true. I remember.
It was Saturday night, it was Wednesday night, and again on Saturday.
Man,
so
that's crazy.
If you remember, for the 3rd event, which is in a span of 7 days, Khamzat again stepped up.
Oh, he moved up to middleweight.
He moved. Yeah, he did.
To fight Meshat.
No, he fought Rice McKee.
Oh, yes, Rice McKee.
In 7 days.
Man, that's crazy.
And he again won.
But that's a rare that's a rare one person, That's a rare one person.
But I feel the quality of a fighter is to fight, And
Agreed.
Again, he's the kind of guy who said 170, I'll do it. 185, I'll do it. Catch weight, I'll do it. So he's one of those, like as we both spoke about in the first part, he's one of those Gegard Musashi guys who just steps up, who does his job and who goes home.
Correct.
He doesn't care about records. He doesn't care about all of that. A lot of people questioned him post-COVID, if you remember, including us.
Correct. A lot of people said, how his lungs going to be? How is his breathing going to be? No, he's absolutely fine. But again, maybe he's in a rush to finish his fight so quickly is because maybe he can't. And you never know.
It's working. It's working.
No, it's whatever he's doing is working. The formula works. But
absolutely.
My point was more towards when you start getting bigger, you start getting bigger names. Now, it's the same thing with RDA. Would he have taken Islam Makhachev on short notice? No, he would not. But if it was some B-level fighter who was climbing up the ranks, who was taking it on short notice, he might have said yes.
But don't you think that's a part of the sport where when you step up and take the risk and say if you win?
But it's also at the level at which you are. Now, see, I can understand a champion saying no because it's his belt. It's on the line.
Well, the champion will never... Yeah, I mean...
Champs will never say, okay, no, I'll give this guy a short notice fight. The only reason John Jones, when another fight was when Chael Sonnen took a fight on short notice, like a week's notice against the champion John Jones.
Yeah.
And it was ridiculous. The fight was barely a fight. It was not a fight. It's just Jones doing whatever he wanted. And the fight ended in the first round or something. And
see, I completely agree with you. But in fact,
I think the champ took the fight because he knew who he was fighting against. Had it been like, Yuri Prohaska, or had been Dominic Reyes, or had been Alexander Gustafsson, there is no way Because at the one end, the guy who's coming up in weight or he's quickly replacing somebody else, he has nothing to lose. Because he's probably going to get a bonus from the company for stepping up. He's going to definitely get protection whether he wins or loses. Even if he loses, he's got a built-in excuse. But the guy who's taking the fight has everything to lose.
Well, I do agree, but don't you think that's a part of the parcel? Like for example, when Michael Bisping stepped up on 17 days notice to face Luke Rockhold for the middleweight belt.
Correct.
And Luke Rockhold took him so lightly. He said,
that's the thing.
I'm just going to make quick work of this guy.
That's the thing, because they faced each other before. No,
and
because
what happened?
Luke had that mentality because Luke had beaten Michael Bisping before. So he had that, he had that confidence in his mind. Saying, I've already beaten this guy, I can do it again. So take it. Right. It's nothing that I have not seen. But clearly Michael Bisping came prepared. It was a very different Michael Bisping.
Absolutely.
It was champion level Michael Bisping that came and beat and won the belt rightfully so. But on the same hand, where fighters' cockiness have got the better of them is where the biggest example is when Nate Diaz took a fight on 10 days notice against Conor McGregor.
Oh my God.
That backfired and how? Because Conor was this myth at the time. He was Mystic Mac. He was knocking these guys out, making them look like idiots and naming the round, naming the kind of the way they will go down, whether it's the left hand or the right hand. And he was doing this and he was riding that wave, but he was just flying between divisions. Well, that fight happened at what? 170 or was 155?
I think that was at 170.
170, right? So Conor went up in weight. He just piled on the calories by eating food and didn't go up in weight the right way. Took that fight lightly and see what happened. But the last replacement in Nate Diaz became he was already a superstar, but became an even bigger superstar after that.
Absolutely. He was a superstar fighter, but now he's become a superstar draw where people are like, oh my God, he literally has shocked the world.
He shocked the world, and people were telling Conor to stay off the internet for a while because he was going to get trolled that badly. And that was, in my opinion, so that's where, somebody's, that, oh man, I can take on anybody can also backfire in a last minute fight.
Well, that's the innate nature of a fighter. Like, for example, Conor has done what he had to. I'm coming back to Khamzat. Khamzat is also riding the same wave where he's like, I can take anybody on. It's confidence backed by performance. So he's done it.
Yeah.
If I tell you that, Chips, let's do this, and you've already done it, you'll be like, let's do it.
Yeah, correct.
So it's not something out of the box, and it's confidence, and because you've done it in the past over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, the master of last minute replacements can be named Donald Cerrone.
Absolutely.
Cerrone has stepped in last minute to win so many times.
Yes.
Because it's Cerrone, but he was also in that, he was in that era.
He was in God mode at that point of time, where I think he used to fight 6 times a year.
Correct. 6, minimum 6 times a year. I was going to say twice a month. He was ready to fight twice a month.
Well, I think there was a time, I think 2014 or 15, where I think he had some 13 or 14 fights in 2 years.
Mad. That's mad. Like, it's unheard of even in, only when you might do something like that, only when you are a super amateur who needs the money.
Absolutely. And racking performance of the night bonuses over and over and over again.
That's 50 G's over and over and over again. And probably Dana would have loved him even more and would probably given him more. Like we spoke about in our last episode, people don't realize, people complain about the pay structure. Yeah, maybe the base pay is X, but if you're a company, man, there are the benefits that come.
110%.
Incredible. I'm probably sure Cerrone got a couple of cars. He probably got a house. He got 100%. A lot of things. He got 100%. A lot of things from Dana. And Cerrone is such a draw because he's super exciting.
Dude, people come to watch him. He's a good guy outside and he's a savage inside. So that's a great person to have on board.
I remember his fights with Rick Story, with Miles Jury. How he stalked them, man. Stalked them. Crowd was going mad. Crowd was going mad. He's fought guys like RDA. He's fought everybody, man.
He's fought everybody. Everybody.
We got to do a special for him, dude. We got to do a special for Cerrone.
But, speaking of special, there are these matchups. A lot of people have actually written to us and they have said, can you speak about the matchups that never happened?
Yeah, that's a very... whoever wrote this now, I know who's written this, We need a separate episode to sit and me describe. We need a separate episode for the saga that is Tony versus Khabib.
Oh, God.
The biggest matchup that never happened.
Yeah, the biggest matchup that never happened.
But it was how many years did that last, man? That go back and forth.
I think there were 5 times.
The stats for it.
5 times. They were 5 times. Yeah, they were scheduled to fight 5 times and it didn't happen. And after that, it was just...
This is where Khabib was still having trouble making weight back
curtains
then.
Down. Yeah, it was curtains down for that. That particular fight was...
It was just... But
after a while, people say, listen, bus ho gaya. Now we don't want to see it.
And yeah, correct. It's, after a point, you're like, screw it. Stop doing this to my heart.
Yeah.
Every time I get my hopes up, then it's gone down.
You break it.
Correct. Dil tod diya. It's like the biggest matchup that never happened. But they played with our heart forever was GSP versus Silva.
Oh my God, yes.
I mean, that was just... why would they do that to us?
Yeah, GSP versus Silva was something which should have happened. But, at that point of time, GSP was at 170. Silva was at 185. And Silva couldn't go down. GSP didn't want to go up. So...
No.
But yeah, see, GSP came back and fought Michael Bisping at 185. So it clearly shows that he could have gone up if he wanted to, but he didn't want to. Because
smart move, dude. And Anderson was to double God mode then.
Yeah.
He was to another plan. He was knocking out light heavyweights.
Correct. But some of the guys that are top of my mind, if I remember, I think, when the UFC bought Pride, and that was a time where a lot of matchups could have been made. A lot of big matchups that I feel didn't happen was in that 2007-2008 era. There was Randy Couture in God mode and Mirko Krokop in God mode. And finally, they were under the same banner.
Oh my God! I know at M1, no? Eventually, Randy fought in M1.
No. So
in the UFC, correct.
So basically, Mirko was in Pride. Randy was in UFC, and when UFC bought over Pride, there was a time where Randy Couture and Mirko Krokop were scheduled to fight each other.
Were they? I didn't know this.
And that never happened. It never happened.
And that would have been a brutal fight.
It would have been brutal. It would have been really nice.
Another big matchup that people were talking about. There were promos cut for it. For God's sake, there were promos. We would see promos. Was Randy Couture versus Fedor Emelianenko?
Absolutely. You know what? That was the next fight that I was thinking about. Sorry. Oh my God, that was so good. That was so good. People had. The posters were made.
Yeah, I know. I remember seeing that.
Yeah,
the promo where they're spraying water on each other and all that, and they're standing face to face and laughing, saying "Kab hoega" and all like that.
Oh God, Fedor Emelianenko versus Randy Couture. But Fedor had a different agreement with Pride, so M1 Global were managing him at that point of time.
Correct.
At that point of time, when technically Fedor was in and out of UFC discussions, there was also talks of Fedor versus Brock Lesnar.
Yeah,
when Brock had Lesnar. Come. When Brock got signed by the UFC, one of the fights on the table was Fedor versus Brock Lesnar. And can you imagine how that would have gone down?
Prime Fedor? Yeah, no, I would have picked Prime Fedor.
Oh, any day. I mean, if Cain Velasquez did that to Brock Lesnar, then Fedor would have smashed the living daylights out of him.
Another fight with Brock, which you just reminded me of, another missed matchup, was the drama for it was already done. It was in the cards. But I remember Daniel Cormier was champion and Brock walks in and he pushes him.
Yes.
And he says, "Push me now, get slapped later."
Oh my God. Can you imagine that one?
I was watching the post-fight. I could see Joe Rogan's face, the excitement in his eyes. He was just like, oh my God, let this happen. Oh my God,
this is happening.
Let this happen, let it happen. And we were all saying, let it happen. Please, Lord, let it happen. And it was so close. Brock and DC was one of the missed out matchups, man.
Absolutely. In fact, DC, I believe, had also agreed to it. And, Brock's condition kind of worsened and he had to leave the sport at that point of time.
This was much after he came back, bro. This is
much
after. Yeah.
So why didn't it happen?
I don't know. I think money.
Oh, really? Wow.
But I don't think, it could not have been money. Maybe commitments with the WWE. Maybe there have been a lot of that. Because knowing Dana White, there would have been no amount of money that he wouldn't pay Brock. Because Brock would draw those numbers.
Absolutely, yes. This imposing big guy who's...
Exactly. And the you probably get 100,000 fans from the WWE coming to watch that fight.
Easily.
I'm talking about
Easily.
minimum.
Easily, but
Easily.
another very good fight, which was underplayed for a very long time, was Jose Aldo versus Anthony Pettis was going to happen way back in 2012, 2013, when Anthony Pettis was this unstoppable guy in 155 and Jose Aldo was a 145 champion.
Correct.
Jose
Just
Aldo
the
was,
WEC crossover time.
Exactly. He said, I'm willing to go up to 155. Pettis said, I'm willing to come down to 145.
Oh, man.
But it just didn't happen. Can you imagine 2012, 2013, which is about 10 years back, 9-10 years back?
Dude, can you imagine Scarface versus Showtime?
Dude, that would have, how good would have that been?
I mean, my hair is standing up. Can you imagine that prime and prime Aldo, the way he used to slip every second.
Oh, yes.
He would slip and then body shot, leg kick. This, when you look at old footage of Aldo, he is at least 50 times faster.
Yeah. He was something else.
Blazing speed.
Those kicks were something else.
Dude, those kicks are still there now. But the thing is that blazing speed, that head movement that he had was, oh my God, you could not touch Aldo.
It was something else.
I mean, you see Aldo's videos versus like Uriah Faber, Mike Brown, all those old fights in
the
WEC
fights. Yeah.
Even you watch him against Hominick when he came to the UFC. God, he was so good. He was so good, man.
He still is good. He still is
still
good,
great. He's still amazing. I love Aldo, but it's like watching vintage Silva. Silva in his prime. You could not touch him if he was standing 3 inches away from his face.
Absolutely. No, but what is even better? What is even better, I think, is UFC 272.
Oh, yes, sir. We have a lot to talk
even
about.
Better. Oh, my God.
You know what? Honestly, we need to wrap up our, failed matchups because we need to have a separate episode dedicated to that. And we have a lot to talk about, which is a huge card coming up. And also for your notice, we will be back in the Sony studios with a special version of the ultimate breakdown for the main event of UFC 272. It's between Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal, a rivalry for the ages. And that is going to be broken down and a lot more other fights in our upcoming segment about UFC 274. So guys, you've been listening to the anniversary episode with Mystic Chips and Superhuman Kamra. Don't go anywhere. Don't change the channel. We'll be right back after these messages.
Eventually, you'll see the end of your childhood.
Get accustomed to womanhood.
Enjoy the experience of sisterhood.
Might get to wifehood.
Or not. Choose motherhood.
Or not. You'll learn to define your personhood.
Earn a livelihood.
Change the neighborhood.
And get rid of the falsehood that life post-academia is easy.
So join me, Ritasha.
And me, Ayushi.
On a journey from station starting point.
To station, what now?
Next station, Pudin station. And hopefully, Agla station, adulthood.
Fresh episodes out every Thursday.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the anniversary episode of the Fighting G.O.A.T, where we are going to be speaking on UFC 272, which is going to happen at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Mystic Chips, one thing which I don't like about 272 is the fact that it was supposed to be the rematch between Algeman Sterling and Peter Yan.
Of course, I knew that was coming, and it's a sore topic for you, my friend. By the way, Aljamain Sterling has been packing on the muscle. He is looking like Usman.
Well, it's not going to help. So,
there's no crystal ball prediction required there.
Absolutely. But what we need the crystal ball for are the fights on the card. Oh my God! So there are
take us to the fights, man. I've forgotten who's.
There are four released fights as of now. Starting off in the heavyweight division, Sergey Spivak versus Greg Hardy.
Oh man, Spivak is a good fight. Greg Hardy lost to Taito Iwasa last time. Yeah.
He did. He got knocked out cold. But then we move on to the welterweight division. Kevin Holland taking on Alex Oliveira.
The return of Kevin Holland, man.
Absolutely. Awesome. And the cowboy Alex Oliveira. We move on to the co-main. Awesome. We move on to the co-main event of the evening. In the featherweight division, Edson Barbosa is back with Bryce Mitchell.
Bryce Mitchell. Oh man, wrestler versus striker. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun
to see.
And the main event of the evening, of course, the grudge match between two former friends turned foes in the welterweight division. Colby Covington taking on Jorge Masvidal.
Oh man, that's going to be a banger. But did you miss out RDA versus Rafael dos Anjos versus Renato Moicano?
That is also happening on this card, but it's not updated. So I don't know.
Oh, it's not. Okay, it's not yet decided.
Yeah.
So it's not been put into place yet. Okay.
I think it's going to be 160 or 165 pounds. Maybe. I don't know. It's going to be in the catchweight division.
Oh, it is a catchweight fight. Yes.
So that is added on the card. I just don't know in what weight category it's going to be. So
okay, fair enough. Well, then we'll update you. We'll update everybody as we go.
Absolutely.
On social media. No, so coming to the main event, man, oh man, it's you people. If you're a fan of rivalries and Sasbahu shows, it does not get more rivalry and Sasbahu than this.
Absolutely,
because these guys were bros, they were buddies, they were training partners, they were helping each other in their careers. They were in the same division. They used to hang together, eat together, chill together, party together, train together, fight together, everything together,
live together.
They were closest of pals, and then. One day, something happened. And something happened for that entire friendship to switch. Because maybe somewhere, maybe somewhere people got jealous of one another, the attention that they were getting, the opportunities that they were getting. But I don't think that's that, because they both had different trajectories. But what they bring to the fight game is pure excitement. Colby Covington is a number one contender still for a reason. He's lost only to the champion, has beaten everybody else.
Yes.
And Jorge Masvidal is the one who got knocked out last by Kamaru Usman in his title bid, but now gets a chance against a rival in Colby Covington. This is your classic wrestler versus street fighting striker style.
Absolutely, yes.
Really
absolutely, yes. In fact, it's such a good topic that you said, that rivals turned, like friends turned foes. Because, it's always an issue in the sport of combat. If you have friends in the same weight division, you're not going to be friends for too long.
Yeah, no. I mean, the greatest example was Jones and Rashad.
Absolutely. And
even though the age difference was significant.
Yeah.
And one could have said, Rashad was at the end of his career and Jones was at the start of his career.
Right.
But they had to meet. And then they weren't friends before or after that.
Do you know why Israel Adesanya and Kumar Usman are friends? Because they're not in the same weight division.
In fact, when Usman wanted a super fight, he actually jumped over the middleweight division and said he will take on Jan Blachowicz.
Yes.
At light heavyweight. Yes. And people were like, are you crazy? Because Usman, yes, we know you're big, but you're not Jan Blachowicz big.
Yeah. I mean, if Israel Adesanya could not do it, if Izzy couldn't do it, then Usman is not even in that league, to be honest.
It's just the strength, man. It's just the strength.
Sheer strength.
I mean, we saw it with Kell Brook and Amir Khan 2 weeks back. We saw that. Amir Khan, all the heart in the world, all the toughness in the world, all the skills in the world. But if you're going to start getting hurt by a jab, you're not in the right division.
Absolutely.
So, and that is a risk that might not. But Colby Covington versus Kamaru Usman. Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal.
Yeah.
What's your pick?
Well, this is a very, very difficult one because the BMF belt has not changed hands ever since, and Jorge Masvidal has held that belt for a very long time. Somehow, I feel he's not the same Jorge Masvidal that smashed Ben Askren and used to, who even smashed Nate Diaz. I somehow feel he's holding back for some reason. I don't know. Does he have the potential to excel? Yes. Colby Covington, on the other hand, is this, jab, 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 left cross kind of guy who's going to outwork you at any given point in time. So one guy is explosive. One guy will focus on his endurance. Colby Covington's BJJ, his grappling, I feel is way superior. I think it's going to be a 5-round decision and Colby Covington gets his hand raised.
I think so too. I think, the way the matchups stylistically have been put, we saw, Masvidal, but the thing is that I have to play devil's advocate because you can never count out somebody as crazy as Jorge Masvidal.
Absolutely.
The guy can come in running with a flying knee. The way he did with Ben Askren, he became a superstar overnight.
Yes.
He became a superstar overnight. People also forget, you can get knocked out by a well-placed punch. You could be Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson and get knocked out by a well-placed punch.
True.
Does not make you punchy though. punchy guys are guys who have taken damage over the years over and over and have shown signs of getting rocked. Like, sorry to say, but like somebody like Johnny Walker, you can see him getting rocked every time he gets touched.
Yes.
Those guys are punchy. Jorge Masvidal is not. He got hit by one hard strike, got put down.
That was the first knockout of his career. 30 plus MMA fights.
Correct. First knockout of his career, his chin is still solid. And I do not think Colby Covington has, Colby Covington, as tough as he is, does not have knockout power in his hands.
Yep.
He can hurt you with 300 punches in a row, like Nate Diaz can.
Yes.
But he's not going to knock you out with one shot. And I think that's not a worry for Masvidal. The only worry I think in Masvidal is Colby can wrestle him and by the fourth can take him down and finish him off by a TKO, ground and pound.
I don't think he's getting submitted. I don't think he's getting TKO'd. According to me,
I think it's going to be a decision. And but you know what? It's hard to predict, man. And a lot of people want Street Jesus to win. It'll certainly change the tone of the welterweight division because Colby has been winning for far too long.
Well, if Jorge Masvidal wins this, suppose, I mean, I'm just putting it out there.
You
if
mean
Jorge Masvidal,
what if segment?
What if? See, because if you look at the odds, Colby Covington needs to survive for 5 rounds, which is 25 minutes, because he's not knocking out Jorge Masvidal.
Right.
I don't think he's even submitting him, to be honest. I don't even think a TKO.
TKO may be out of exhaustion, sheer exhaustion.
Colby doesn't have the Usman power, so that's not going to happen. But Jorge Masvidal had the way Jorge Masvidal was striking with Nate Diaz and putting him down.
Dude, he was looking
scary.
So good.
Was scary. Nate Diaz is a southpaw. Colby is a southpaw. So he's fought in this pressure earlier. He's fought in this arena earlier. He's fought in this environment earlier. It's Colby doesn't have the best kicks like Nate Diaz. So he's not gonna body kick him and hurt him.
Colby's got pressure, constant pressure. Colby's in your face, and it's very difficult to fight off your heels. Fighting off your heels means fighting backwards while moving backwards.
Nate Diaz did that. Nate Diaz came close and he ate some vicious elbows from Jorge Masvidal.
But Nate doesn't change levels. Colby has that plus point. That question mark is, will he change levels and make it a grappling match?
Exactly. So Colby needs to survive for 5 rounds. Jorge Masvidal, if he connects a couple of good right hands, I think Colby will start moving back. So as you rightly said, we don't know where this is going.
You just don't know. It could, because the thing is, Colby might eat a shot or two and look to shoot.
Yes.
He didn't shoot against Kumar Usman because nobody is shooting against Kumar Usman.
Correct.
You're not going to win a grappling match with Kumar Usman.
You might just get submitted.
Yeah, you might get submitted. You might get knocked out also as soon as you come close. So that's the thing. Now, and Colby didn't like Masvidal's power. So, Kumar's power. So you never know. Masvidal hits equally hard. You never know.
Or harder.
So, but sadly, I'm going with the mental choice, which I think Colby by a decision.
Absolutely. The second fight that we're going to be speaking briefly about is the return of Edson Barbosa in the featherweight division, taking on Bryce Mitchell.
All right. Bryce Mitchell, Edson Barbosa, again, wrestler versus striker matchup. It's going to either be, you know what? The only person to control Edson Barbosa on the ground was at 155, and that was Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Yes.
I don't think Bryce Mitchell has the same grappling ability. And right now, Edson Barbosa looks renewed. He looks much better. And this is a big step up in competition for Bryce Mitchell. Edson Barbosa is a stud.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a tough fight. Go watch out for that spinning back kick, man. Terry Atim still remembers it.
Oh, man. Yes. In fact, so what's your pick, Mystic Chips?
Edson Barbosa by stoppage.
Oof, you know what? In fact, I'm going to go Edson Barbosa via stoppage too. So that's a great pick.
I just feel it. Edson is going to do it. He's going to do it.
That's a great pick. The other fights, of course, RDA is on the card versus Renato.
So RDA Renato yet.
Yeah, let's see how that goes. But these were the 2 fights that we would have liked to speak about that we did. And you guys need to make your predictions on UFC 272. For all the predictions, please #tag us to win some exciting Fighting Goat merchandise. To tag me, you can get me on Instagram, somesh.kamra, and on Twitter, it's somesh_kamra. Hit it, Mystic Chips.
All right. For my handles on Twitter, it's @the Mystic Chips. and on Instagram is at Arjun Chips. So guys, don't forget to hashtag tag us, get part of the conversation, be part of the program. Always keep watching, keep listening and watching The Fighting GOAT only on ivmpodcast.com. Thank you for joining us for this amazing anniversary episode. We have 1 year in the books with many, many more to go. Keep listening to us and we love your support. We love you. Keep listening to The Fighting GOAT. We'll see you soon.
Do you wonder why China does the things that it does? Or want to know how we could improve online privacy? Or perhaps you're thinking about how we can kickstart India's economy. If you'd like to search for the answers to such questions, check out All Things Policy, a daily public policy podcast that covers everything from employment figures to aircraft carriers. Tune in from Monday to Friday for new episodes and fresh takes.
We face 100 dilemmas every day while raising our children and nurturing our families. Why not let science help us make informed decisions to solve our dilemmas? Hi, I'm Devi Shobha.
And I'm Meghna. We host Big Talk About Tiny Humans, where we will help you unpack challenges around parenting and your child's development.
And more importantly, we will equip you with research-backed strategies that you can readily act on.
Tune in to our podcast every Wednesday on the IVM Podcasts app, website, or your favorite podcast platforms.